In the year 2219, Earth had become a haven of peace and progress, far removed from the scars of its violent past. The human race had expanded across the stars, establishing colonies on distant planets and moons, and achieving a golden age of science and culture. On the surface, it seemed as though Earth's violent, war-torn history was nothing but a distant memory, until an excavation crew working in the deep caverns beneath the polar ice caps uncovered a strange alien artifact. The discovery was made by a group of geologists and archaeologists from the Global Scientific Authority, a vast organization that oversaw scientific research across the human colonies. They had been digging deep into the frozen core of Earth's North Pole, searching for rare minerals that could fuel new advancements in space exploration. What they found, however, was far beyond anything they expected. A dark cube, encased in a shell of ice and ancient rock, sat buried under miles of glacial matter. It was unlike anything the crew had ever seen, smooth, unblemished, and seemingly untouched by the ravages of time. The material it was made from was alien, a black metal that hummed with an eerie, low-frequency vibration. It glowed faintly in the darkness, as if alive. The team immediately alerted the Global Scientific Authority, who sent in a team of experts to investigate. The moment the cube was exposed to the air, something extraordinary happened. The planet's electromagnetic field shifted, causing power surges in nearby cities and triggering strange energy readings across the world. As scientists examined the artifact, they could only speculate about its origins. It was far older than any known alien technology, and its design was baffling. Too advanced, too intricate for even the most cutting-edge human technology. Commander Maya Harper, a seasoned officer with the Earth Defense Fleet, was dispatched to the excavation site to oversee the military's involvement. Though she had been trained for countless conflicts and was known for her strategic mind, nothing in her career could have prepared her for what she was about to face. Upon her arrival, Maya stood before the massive cube, her breath visible in the cold air, feeling an inexplicable pull deep within her chest. She'd been briefed on the artifact, of course, but now that she stood before it, a sense of unease began to settle in. It was as if the cube had an ancient presence, a weight of history and power that reached out to her in ways she couldn't understand. As Maya inspected the site, the team's lead archaeologist, Dr. Tarek Sol, approached her. He was an eccentric man, obsessed with uncovering humanity's true origins. His theories, once dismissed as outlandish, now seemed to carry an unsettling weight. "Commander, I believe this artifact is not just a relic of an unknown alien race," Tarek said, his voice low with excitement. "I think it's something much older, something connected to us, to humanity." Maya raised an eyebrow. "What are you suggesting?" "I believe," Tarek continued, "that this artifact is a key to unlocking something that humanity has forgotten, something we were, but lost. We were never just a fledgling species. We were once something far more powerful." As Tarek spoke, Maya's mind reeled. The idea was absurd, yet something inside her stirred. The ancient dreams had started, strange, fragmented visions of a time long past. Battles fought across star systems, soldiers who seemed impossibly strong, their weapons cutting through space itself. And then, the vague but persistent feeling that this power, these memories, were hers. Before she could voice her thoughts, the cube flickered, releasing a pulse of energy that resonated deep within her mind. Her vision blurred for a moment, and a voice, ancient and unfamiliar, whispered in her ear, "You have been chosen." Maya staggered back, her heart racing. The others at the site had noticed the energy surge, but none of them had felt the strange sensation she had. Shaking her head to clear the disorienting vision, she looked at Tarek, who had a knowing expression on his face. "This is just the beginning," he said quietly, as if confirming what she already suspected. The artifact had awakened something within humanity. Something ancient, something dangerous. The pulse from the artifact lingered in Maya's mind long after she had regained her composure. She stood frozen for a moment, the world around her strangely muted, as though her senses had been altered by the energy that had surged through her. The whispers faded, but the unease remained. It wasn't just a relic. It was something far more significant, and humanity had awakened something deep within it. The excavation team quickly went into a flurry of activity, the scientists and engineers scrambling to collect data and perform tests. But Maya knew their mission was no longer just about research. The discovery of the cube marked the beginning of something far greater, a power that could reshape the future of Earth and perhaps the entire galaxy. Dr. Tarek Sol, standing nearby, looked at her with a mixture of awe and apprehension. "We've activated it, Commander. The artifact. It's responding to us. To you." Maya turned to him, her brow furrowing. "What do you mean? What did I just experience?" "I believe it's a form of telepathic imprint," Tarek said, his voice filled with the excitement of a scholar on the verge of a breakthrough. "The artifact is not just a physical object. It's a repository of memories. The memories of humanity's ancient past. Your reaction, it's not just coincidence. It's as though the cube recognized something within you." Maya felt a sudden chill. The more she thought about it, the more it made sense. The visions, the fleeting memories of distant battles, of incredible power, that was no accident. The artifact had unlocked something inside her. But what? She wasn't special. She was just a soldier, a commander of Earth's defense forces, doing her job. Yet, in that moment, she couldn't deny it. There was a connection, something deeply rooted in her own being. Tarek continued, his tone more serious now. "We've already seen subtle changes in the people around the world. There are reports of strange phenomena. People tapping into abilities they never had before. Enhanced strength, speed. Some have even reported seeing visions like yours." Maya's eyes widened. "You think everyone's experiencing this?" "We don't know how widespread it is yet," Tarek replied. "But I suspect that the more the artifact is exposed, the more these abilities will grow. There's a chance that humanity is reconnecting with something we lost a long time ago, something we may not fully understand." Maya clenched her fists, the pulse of energy still lingering in her fingertips. If this is true, then we're in trouble. Not everyone will want this power to be unleashed, especially if it means changing the very fabric of who we are. Tarek nodded grimly. "There will be resistance, not just from those who fear this power, but from other forces. Whoever built this artifact wasn't just a civilization. They were an empire. And empires don't fall without leaving enemies behind." Before Maya could respond, the ground beneath them trembled. The artifact pulsed again, and a low, resonant hum vibrated through the chamber. A flicker of light danced from the cube, and the air in the room thickened with static electricity. "We need to move," Maya said urgently, her instincts kicking in. "We don't know what else this thing might do. If it's waking people up to these powers, it's only a matter of time before someone with a darker agenda comes for it." Tarek seemed to realize the gravity of the situation at the same moment. "We need to take this artifact to the proper authorities, Commander. If humanity is on the brink of something monumental, we need to ensure it's handled carefully." But as they prepared to leave the excavation site, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was about to unfold would no longer be in their control. Humanity had just awakened a force far greater than they could comprehend, and the consequences of that awakening were only just beginning to reveal themselves. As she walked away from the chamber, Maya couldn't help but wonder, what if this was humanity's destiny? To rise again, to reclaim the lost power of their ancient past? Or were they about to repeat the same mistakes that had led to the fall of the Ascendants? The whispers still echoed in her mind. "You have been chosen." The path ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: nothing would ever be the same again. The days following the awakening were filled with uncertainty and fear. Across Earth, whispers of strange occurrences spread like wildfire. Soldiers began to report heightened strength. Workers at construction sites moved materials with ease, and civilians were having flashes of memories that didn't belong to them. It wasn't just the elite or the scientific community that was experiencing these phenomena. Ordinary people, too, were awakening to something ancient. The very air seemed charged with a strange energy. Commander Maya Harper, who had initially thought she was alone in her experiences, soon realized the entire world was shifting. She couldn't ignore the sense of foreboding gnawing at her. Something was coming, something that humanity wasn't ready for. The artifact's powers were not just reshaping Earth's inhabitants, it was drawing attention from powers beyond their world. It didn't take long for the first signs of conflict to appear. The Vork, a warlike alien species with a reputation for ruthless expansionism, had been monitoring humanity for centuries. They knew that Earth, despite its relatively peaceful existence, had always harbored latent potential. They also knew that the awakening of human abilities could trigger a resurgence of the Ascendant's forgotten empire. The Vork would not allow that to happen. A fleet of Vork warships, hidden in the outer edges of the solar system, moved quickly toward Earth, their weapons primed and ready. Their mission: to suppress the human awakening before it could spiral out of control. Maya, as the head of Earth's defense forces, was the first to receive word of the incoming threat. She was at her command post when the message came through, and the gravity of the situation hit her like a cold wave. Her mind raced with possibilities, each darker than the last. She knew that humanity's first response could determine their survival. She gathered her team, a group of military experts and awakened humans, including Sergeant Lucas Rios, a former soldier who had already begun to demonstrate remarkable strength and agility, and Dr. Tarek Sol, whose knowledge of the artifact had become invaluable. The team had been prepared for potential threats. Global peace didn't mean humanity was unprepared, but this was unlike anything they'd faced before. "Commander, what do we know about their fleet?" Lucas asked, his tone serious but calm. "They're coming in fast, and they're heavily armed. Their weapons can cut through starships like a hot knife through butter," Maya replied, her mind already calculating their options. "We have to hit them before they reach Earth." Tarek looked uneasy, his normally confident demeanor faltering. "The artifact. It may be causing instability in our technology. We may not have the advantage in terms of military hardware. But if we can harness the energy from the artifact, we might stand a chance." Maya nodded. "We'll need to rely on human ingenuity and whatever abilities are emerging. We've never faced an enemy like this, but they haven't faced us either. Not like this." The plan was simple, but it came with enormous risk. Maya would leave a small strike team to intercept the Vork fleet, using the newly awakened human powers as a means of tactical advantage. It was a gamble. They didn't know the full extent of their new abilities, but they couldn't afford to wait. If the Vork succeeded in reaching Earth, the war would be over before it even started. As the battle commenced in the cold, desolate vacuum of space, the Vork warships descended on the human fleet, their energy weapons crackling as they locked onto their targets. But Maya's strike team, now equipped with enhanced reflexes, telekinetic control, and raw strength, fought with a ferocity that was impossible to predict. Maya herself was in the thick of it, her senses heightened, her mind sharp. She felt the hum of ancient energy surging through her, like the blood of forgotten warriors running through her veins. With a single thought, she diverted an incoming missile, sending it spiraling off into space with a flick of her wrist. She could hear the Vork commander's fury over the comms, but she wasn't listening anymore. She was fully immersed in the battle, driven by the ancient instincts awakening inside her. Despite their best efforts, the Vork were unprepared for the overwhelming power of humanity's awakening. Lucas, who had once been a soldier with no extraordinary talents, was now an unstoppable force. He hurled enemy drones with his bare hands, tearing through their defenses with ease. The human ships, though technologically inferior, fought back with a unity and desperation that the Vork couldn't match. But even in the midst of their victory, Maya couldn't ignore the bigger picture. The battle was a success, but it had cost them. The Vork fleet, though decimated, had sent a message. Earth was no longer just a small, insignificant planet. It was a threat, and the galaxy's true powers were now watching. As Maya looked out at the wreckage in the void, she knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had awakened something dangerous, both within themselves and the universe around them. And there was no going back. The first victory against the Vork was a fleeting relief. Maya's strike team had repelled the alien fleet, but the battle left behind a growing sense of dread. The Vork's retreat was a tactical one, not a defeat. Their forces would return, and they would be better prepared. More concerning was the truth Maya and her team were slowly uncovering about the artifact and about humanity's forgotten past. Back on Earth, in the aftermath of the skirmish, Maya and Dr. Tarek Sol convened with military leaders and top scientists in an emergency briefing. Though the Vork had been pushed back, the war had only just begun. And the more they learned about the artifact, the more they realized how little they truly understood. "We can't keep operating blindly," Maya said, standing at the head of the table, her eyes scanning the faces of the senior officers before her. "The Vork aren't the only threat we'll face. There's something inside that cube, a power we don't yet comprehend. And if it's tied to our past, then we need to know everything." Dr. Tarek, his brow furrowed in thought, nodded. "The artifact isn't just a weapon. It's a key, and it's unlocking something in us. But I believe that's only the surface of the truth. What the Vork fear isn't just our strength. It's what's hidden in the artifact itself." Maya glanced at him. "What do you mean?" Tarek hesitated before speaking. "I've been reviewing ancient texts, myths, and records from pre-space age Earth. There are legends of a time when humanity wasn't simply a fledgling species. We were the rulers of the stars, an empire so powerful that we could bend entire solar systems to our will. The Ascendants, they were called. A race of warrior scholars who mastered both science and the mystic arts. But something happened. They fell." Maya frowned. "You think we were once these Ascendants? That we ruled the galaxy?" "I don't think it's a coincidence," Tarek said, voice steady. "The artifact is not alien, Commander. It's human, a relic of that empire. The Ascendants sealed their knowledge and power away, perhaps because they feared what they might become if they kept it. And somehow, that power is awakening within us." The weight of Tarek's words settled in the room. A long silence followed, broken only by the hum of the artificial gravity generators overhead. Maya felt a cold shiver run down her spine. What if humanity was not only awakening power, it was awakening a destiny? A dark legacy of conquest, war, and dominance that had once been their undoing. "There's a prophecy," Tarek continued, pulling up a holographic display. The ancient text appeared, written in a script that had been long forgotten. It translated slowly as Tarek read aloud. "Those who awaken the lost power of the Ascendants shall either destroy or save the stars. The path is theirs to choose, but the cost will be great." Maya's mind raced. Could humanity be doomed to repeat the mistakes of their ancient ancestors? The very same traits that had brought the Ascendants to ruin, greed, pride, and the lust for domination, were the same traits that now stirred in humanity's newly awakened powers. She had seen it in her team, their struggles to control the raw energy inside them, the temptation to wield it for personal gain, not just for the defense of Earth. "We need to be careful," Maya said, her voice firm, but there was an edge of uncertainty in her tone. "If we let this power consume us, we could be worse than the Vork. We'll bring about our own extinction." Tarek looked at her with a mixture of respect and concern. "I believe the artifact is testing us, Commander. It has awakened these powers for a reason. But what that reason is, we still don't understand. The Ascendants were not just conquerors. They were philosophers, scientists, and diplomats. They weren't just warriors, they were leaders. But they let their power go unchecked. They let themselves become corrupt." Maya's fists clenched at her sides. She knew this wasn't just a battle for Earth's survival. It was a battle for humanity's soul. She had seen the ancient visions, the terrifying might of the Ascendants. And now, That power was hers to command, and with it, the weight of her choices. The room fell silent again, the gravity of the conversation sinking in. Maya's thoughts were chaotic, but one thing was clear. The fate of humanity was on a precipice. They stood at a crossroads, poised between the promise of greatness and the threat of ruin. "We need to prepare," Maya said finally, her voice steady despite the uncertainty inside her. "Prepare for what's coming, and we need to be ready to make the hard choice. The choice to control this power, or to destroy it before it destroys us." But in her heart, Maya couldn't shake the lingering question. Could humanity truly avoid the same fate as the Ascendants? Or were they destined to repeat history's most catastrophic mistakes? The weeks following the discovery of humanity's ancient legacy were a blur of preparations and uncertainty. The Vork weren't the only ones aware of the artifact's power. Intelligence reports began to filter in from Earth's colonies scattered across the stars. Something was stirring in the galaxy, a ripple in the fabric of the universe. And it wasn't just Vork ships that were moving. Other alien races, ancient and secretive, began to take notice of Earth's sudden emergence as a threat to the status quo. Maya's world had become a constant struggle to maintain control. The military worked tirelessly to strengthen Earth's defenses, but the real battle was within humanity itself. The newly awakened powers, enhanced strength, telekinetic abilities, bursts of energy and speed, began to spread among the population. The more they practiced, the stronger they became. It was undeniable. Humanity was changing. And Maya felt the shift most acutely. Standing at the helm of the newly commissioned Warship Vigilant, Maya looked out across the vast expanse of space. The ship's sleek design was a testament to humanity's technological advancements, but it was also a symbol of something more. It was their shield against the unknown, their first line of defense against whatever powers might come for them. But no amount of weapons or technology could stop the force that was awakening inside her. Ever since the first encounter with the artifact, Maya's powers had grown. At first, it was subtle, a flicker of enhanced reflexes, the ability to sense distant movements in the darkness, bursts of strength she had never known she possessed. But as the days passed, the power inside her grew uncontrollable. She could feel it, an ancient, unrelenting force. Sometimes, when she closed her eyes, she saw flashes of alien worlds, distant battles fought by warriors who looked like her, humans from an era long past. And she understood, in the deepest part of her being, that she was not just connected to these ancient beings, she was one of them. It terrified her. She could sense the darkness that came with the power. The Ascendants had fallen for a reason. It wasn't just the Vork who had feared them, it was their own kind. The Ascendants had wielded this immense power and lost themselves in it. Their empire had burned, consumed by the very strength they had sought to control. It was a warning, and Maya felt the same urge stirring within her, the temptation to wield this power, to reshape the galaxy in humanity's image. She couldn't let that happen. Maya. Lucas Rios's voice broke through her thoughts. He had been by her side throughout this entire journey, his strength and loyalty unwavering. But even he was changing. His enhanced abilities were becoming more pronounced, and the strain was showing. Maya turned, forcing herself to focus. Lucas was standing at the door of the command room, his face a mixture of concern and curiosity. "The Council wants to speak with you. The latest reports are in." With a heavy sigh, Maya nodded. "I'll be right there." As she made her way to the briefing room, her mind kept turning over the implications of what Tarek had said. The Ascendants had fallen because they had lost themselves in their power. She couldn't let humanity make the same mistakes, but she was beginning to feel that she was already too far gone. The power was not just in the artifact. It was in her, in all of them. They were becoming something new, something alien. In the council room, a tense atmosphere hung in the air. The assembled leaders, military, political, and scientific, were waiting for her. Tarek stood at the head of the table, his expression grave. "We've intercepted a message from the Vork," Tarek said, his voice tight with urgency. "They're planning a full-scale assault on Earth, but it's not just them. Other factions in the galaxy are beginning to mobilize. They've realized what's happening here, what humanity is becoming." Maya's heart sank. "They know we've unlocked the ascendant power." "Exactly," Tarek replied. "And they'll stop at nothing to ensure we don't use it." Maya's fists clenched. The galaxy had lived in balance for centuries, but that balance was about to be shattered. Humanity had become a wild card, a species on the brink of tapping into an ancient, uncontrollable power. And there were those who would not let that happen. "We're on the brink of war," Tarek continued. "But we're also on the brink of something else. A choice. The artifact's power is awakening in all of us. What we decide to do with it will shape the future of humanity." Maya stood silently, the weight of his words hanging heavy in the air. She could feel the power within her again, stirring restlessly, urging her to act, to take control. She knew that the galaxy would soon be at war, and the question was no longer whether humanity could defend itself. The question was, would they become the conquerors they had once been? Or would they fight to protect the fragile peace they had only just begun to understand? Maya didn't know the answer, but she did know this. The power inside her was not just a gift, it was a test. And if humanity didn't pass it, they might not survive. The galaxy was stirring, and so was humanity. Maya had never felt such a weight on her shoulders. The decisions made in the coming days would either mark the beginning of a new era for mankind or its demise. The power that had begun to awaken within her and countless others could not be ignored. Every test of strength, every uncontrolled burst of energy, every strange new ability felt like a ticking clock. The potential for greatness was immense, but so was the risk of annihilation. In the weeks following the briefing with the Council, Maya had become more and more aware of her abilities, and not just hers, those of her team, her friends, and millions of others. Humanity was changing. On the streets, people were noticing their neighbors lifting heavy objects effortlessly, running faster, seeing further. Some were even harnessing the raw power of the artifact, tapping into psychic-like abilities. But with the growth of power came instability. Factions formed. Some saw the new abilities as a gift, a sign that humanity was destined to ascend to its rightful place in the stars. Others, like the Global Council, feared the dangers of unchecked power and sought to contain it. The Vork threat was only one part of a greater, more dangerous game being played in the shadows. Maya had been part of the military since she was young, but this was different. This wasn't about strategy, tactics, or defending Earth from alien invaders. This was about surviving the temptation of absolute power. "We're losing control," Lucas said one evening as he and Maya stood on the observation deck of the Vigilant. Below them, the lights of Earth flickered, a world unaware of the cosmic forces about to descend upon it. Lucas, once the model of discipline and composure, was showing signs of the strain. His newfound abilities had caused him to act impulsively at times. There was a restlessness in his eyes, a hunger for more power. She had noticed it in herself too. "Not just the Vork," Maya replied softly, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "There are others watching us. The Council's been in contact with other factions, races older than the Vork. They've all seen what's happening. The artifact isn't just a weapon. It's a signal. To them, we're a new power, and they're not sure whether to destroy us or recruit us." Lucas clenched his jaw. "And we're not sure what we should do with this power ourselves." Maya turned toward him, her expression hardening. "We've already made our choice. We defend Earth, and we fight for humanity's future. But we can't let this power control us. If we do, then what's the difference between us and the Vork? They want to dominate the galaxy, and I won't let us fall into the same trap." Lucas didn't reply immediately. He simply stared at the distant stars, as if seeing through them to some unseen horizon. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, other forces were moving. The reports from the far reaches of space were chilling. The Ryakari, a long-dormant race known for their manipulation of dark energy, had awakened their own ancient fleets in response to the signal sent by Earth's newfound power. Their motives were unclear, but their history was not one of diplomacy. The Ryakari had been the Ascendant's greatest enemies, and their ancient wars had shaped much of galactic history. If they were returning now, it could only mean one thing. They saw Earth as a threat or a valuable ally to exploit. "We don't have much time." Tarek's voice crackled through the comms, interrupting Maya's thoughts. "The Ryakari are mobilizing. I believe their fleet is already en route to our system. If we don't act soon, we'll be caught between them and the Vork, and humanity won't survive either side." Maya took a deep breath, the weight of it all pressing down on her chest. They were no longer just fighting for Earth's survival. They were fighting for the survival of humanity's soul. The ancient power that had once been their downfall was now their inheritance, and it was up to them to control it. "What are we going to do, Commander?" Lucas asked quietly, his voice uncertain, his powers coursing through him like an untamed storm. Maya looked out over the vastness of space, the stars scattered before her like distant dreams. She could feel the ancient power within her stirring, alive, waiting. It was time to make a choice, not just for humanity, but for herself. She would either become the leader they needed or lose herself in the flood of power she now controlled. "We prepare for war," she said, her voice calm but resolute. "But we also prepare for the future. We must take control of this power, or it will destroy us." The storm was coming, and humanity had no choice but to face it head-on. The Vigilant was a beacon in the dark void of space, its sleek hull cutting through the stars like a blade. Maya stood on the bridge, her eyes scanning the expansive field of stars, 1,000 thoughts racing through her mind. The Ryakari fleet was on its way, an ancient, formidable force, and the Vork were likely regrouping for another attack. Earth's fate, and the fate of humanity itself, hung in the balance. Maya had never felt more alone. Despite the support of her team, the weight of the choices ahead pressed down on her like an invisible force. Humanity's future was no longer just a matter of survival. It was a battle for their very essence. The power that had awoken within them, the same power that had driven the Ascendants to ruin, threatened to overwhelm them all. "Commander, the Ryakari fleet has entered the outer edges of the system." Tarek's voice echoed through the comms, pulling Maya from her thoughts. "They're holding their position. It looks like they're waiting for something." "Waiting for what?" Maya asked, her brow furrowing. "Hard to say. But it's clear they know we're not just the same old humanity anymore." Tarek replied, his voice tense. "They might be testing us, trying to see if we're truly ready to wield the power of the Ascendants." Maya turned away from the viewport and faced her team, Lucas and the others gathered around the command table. The room was heavy with tension. They were all aware of what was at stake, but no one knew exactly how to fight this new war. The weaponry they had was powerful, but they couldn't rely solely on technology anymore. The Ryakari were masters of dark energy, an unknown force to most of humanity, and they had an agenda that could either align with or destroy Earth's newfound power. "What if they're right?" Lucas asked, his voice unusually quiet. The words were heavy with doubt. "What if we're not ready? We've barely started to understand what this power can do. I've seen people around me, people who are just trying to control it, but it's not easy. It's dangerous." Maya's eyes softened as she regarded him. Lucas was right. The power they had awakened wasn't something that could be easily mastered. She had seen it firsthand. Her own abilities, while incredible, were still unstable. There were moments when the power surged out of her control, moments when she could feel the temptation to use it to dominate, to take control of everything around her. It was too easy to slip into that mindset, to let the power define her. But she couldn't let that happen. Not now. Not when everything depended on her decisions. "No one's ready for this kind of power, Lucas," she said, her voice firm. "But we don't have a choice. We either control it or it controls us. We've already seen what can happen when the Vork and the Ryakari take notice of us. If we fall to the same temptation as the ascendants, if we lose ourselves to this power, we'll be no better than the very enemies we fight. And humanity will become just another failed empire in the galaxy's history. Lucas nodded, though his expression was still clouded with doubt. Maya knew he wasn't alone in his feelings. Many of the awakened were struggling to keep their powers in check. The temptation to use their newfound abilities for personal gain was overwhelming for some. The global leadership had tried to institute control measures, but those were fragile at best. There were whispers of factions forming within humanity, groups that believed in embracing their power fully, taking their place among the stars. "We need to take action before the Ra'akari make their move," Maya said, shaking off her own uncertainty. "They're waiting for us to show our hand. Let's not give them the advantage." The decision was made. They would strike first, with everything they had, before the Ra'akari could fully assess their potential. But this wasn't just about fighting. It was about sending a message. Humanity would not be cowed or controlled. They had awoken, and they would decide their own destiny. Tarek, always the strategist, was already working with the military planners to coordinate the first wave of strikes. Meanwhile, Maya would lead a special team, those with the greatest control over their powers, into the heart of the Ra'akari fleet. The plan was risky, and there were no guarantees, but it was the only option. If they could disrupt the Ra'akari's command structure, they might be able to cripple their entire fleet before it reached Earth. As the Vigilant began to move into position, Maya felt her heart race. The battle that loomed ahead would be unlike anything humanity had ever faced. It wasn't just about defeating an enemy. It was about standing against the darkness within themselves. "We are the inheritors of the Ascendant's power," Maya said, her voice steady now, filled with resolve. "We will decide what happens next. This is our moment, and we will not let fear or temptation take it from us." Lucas gave her a brief, tight-lipped nod. He had come a long way since their first encounter with the Vork. He was no longer just a soldier. He was an awakened warrior. And he, like the others, was ready to face the storm. In the vast reaches of space, the Ra'akari fleet remained silent, but Maya knew the calm was temporary. The storm was coming, and humanity would be ready to face it. The Vigilant hung like a shadow in the expanse of space, its sleek form a defiant challenge to the Ra'akari fleet that loomed at the edge of Earth's system. The Ra'akari ships, ancient and dark, hovered in eerie silence. Their weapons were unlike anything humanity had encountered before, unpredictable, fueled by dark energy that seemed to warp the very fabric of space around them. And yet Maya felt no fear. Not anymore. As the clock ticked down, she stood in the command room, her hand resting on the cool surface of the table, eyes fixed on the holographic projections of the enemy fleet. Each ship was an enigma, an unknown waiting to be unlocked. The Ra'akari had always been a mystery, an old race with a deep history of conflict, dark energy manipulation, and shadowy motives. They were the Ascendant's enemies, their counterpoint in the cosmic balance. And now, they had come to Earth. Maya's team was ready. Lucas stood beside her, his face a mask of determination. He had become a quiet force in the days since the artifact's power had awakened. His own struggles with control had made him more cautious, more focused. He had learned, as had Maya, that the key wasn't the raw power itself. It was the will to channel it without letting it consume you. "We've got one shot at this," Maya said, her voice low, as she turned to Lucas. "We strike fast. We strike hard. The Ra'akari are powerful, but they don't know what we can do. We need to hit them before they can retaliate." Lucas nodded, his fingers brushing the edge of the table, his gaze flickering between the projection and Maya. "I know, but this isn't just about winning. This is about proving that we can control what we've become." Maya glanced around the room at the others. Each one of them had been transformed by the artifact, their abilities stronger than they had ever imagined. And each of them, like her, struggled with the desire to let that power overflow, to wield it without restraint. Humanity's potential had never been so vast. and yet so dangerous. The Council had authorized this mission, a preemptive strike against the Ratakari, to cripple their command structure and delay their plans long enough to allow Earth to regroup. But Maya knew that this wasn't just a military operation. It was a test of humanity's resolve to wield power wisely, to overcome the temptations of domination and greed that had undone the Ascendants. The Ratakari ships began to move. Slowly, methodically, they advanced toward Earth. Their weapons hummed with energy, a dark, oppressive force that threatened to suffocate the stars themselves. "Now's our chance," Maya said, her eyes narrowing. "Move out." In an instant, the Vigilant shifted, her engines firing with a silent fury as the ship accelerated toward the Ratakari fleet. Maya felt the power surge inside her, the same raw energy that had awakened within her, the same power that had once driven the Ascendants to destruction. It buzzed beneath her skin, a fire waiting to ignite. But she kept her focus, pushing it down, channeling it into the mission. The first volley of fire came from the Ratakari ships, energy blasts that cut through space with terrifying precision. The Vigilant took a hit, the shields flaring with a brilliant blue light, but it held steady. Maya's team moved into position, their ships splitting off from the main fleet, targeting the lead Ratakari vessel. It was then that the true power of the Ratakari ships became apparent. A pulse of dark energy shot from the lead ship, warping the space around it, distorting the laws of physics. It was a weapon designed to disrupt the very fabric of reality itself. But Maya was ready. She could feel the storm inside her, the ancient power of the Ascendants surging. With a single thought, she reached out, pushing against the fabric of space. The weapon's pulse splintered before it reached her, its path twisting into the void as her telekinetic force unraveled it. Lucas and the others followed suit, using their newfound abilities to counter the Ratakari's weaponry, their powers a unified force. The battle was chaotic, the dark energy clashing with humanity's raw, untamed might. But Maya could feel the line between victory and destruction thinning. The power they were wielding, it wasn't just a tool. It was a test of their very souls. As the battle raged, Maya saw the moment. The Ratakari were retreating, their command ship taking damage. It was time to end this, to make a choice. Strike the final blow and risk pushing humanity into the darkness, or show mercy and prove that they were not like the ancient empires that had once sought to conquer. Maya's hand hovered over the trigger, the weight of the decision heavy in her chest. She could feel the power surging inside her, pushing her toward dominance, toward annihilation. But she remembered the warnings, the fate of the Ascendants. The power was never meant to be wielded recklessly. With a deep breath, she made her choice. The trigger never fired. Instead, Maya sent a wave of energy out, not to destroy, but to incapacitate. The Ratakari ship faltered, its systems collapsing, the crew incapacitated. The message was clear. Humanity was not a force of destruction. They would not be led by the power that had undone so many before them. The storm had passed. For now.